Hello, welcome back to Mountain Gym Card Collectibles, and today is May Day, the 1st of May 2025, and today I am going over some players whose sports cards you should probably exercise a lot of caution with. I like to put up a caution sign next to all of these players. And a lot of these, issues with these players, it's not necessarily their fault, but you know how scandals are. And, obviously the Wander Franco scandal from a few years ago really, speaks volumes of scandalous behavior. But besides scandals, there's just a lot of other issues brewing with some of these players. So anyway, let's get into it. The first card, sports card and player that comes to mind obviously is Shannon Sharpe. And I have sold Shannon Sharpe cards, in the past. He's a big Hall of Fame legacy veteran player. And if you're into sports cards, there's a great chance that you may have one of Shannon Sharpe's sports cards. Now, as you can see with these headlines, Shannon Sharpe, this is from CBS News from 6 days ago. Shannon Sharpe, NFL Hall of Famer, accused of rape in $50 million civil lawsuit, okay? Shannon Sharpe temporarily stepping away from ESPN amid rape allegations. That's from the New York Times. And let's see, and that's about it. Just kind of keeps repeating itself. And I'm not going to get too deep into these allegations other than we know that with the Wander Franco issue where, he was with underage girl, and her family spoke up about it, and we know everything that happened to Wander Franco. Could this issue destroy Shannon Sharpe? And if it does, I just want you to, be aware that if you own his sports cards, if they're valuable sports cards, they will likely begin to tank. All right? So, that is a former player that I am, if you're thinking about buying his stock, I'd be very, very cautious. All right, and then we have this recent golf accident with John Elway and his agent, Jeff Spearbeck, who is a close friend of John Elway's. Could this affect John Elway's card prices? Could it affect his legacy? I honestly don't know. I don't know how far it's going to go. I know that they're launching an investigation over this accident. This just recently came out a few hours ago, this headline. John Elway issues heartfelt statement on friend who died following golf cart accident. Okay. And right here, this is just from Fox News, and it just says right at the top here, this came out 16 hours ago, Elway was driving the golf cart, and Spearbeck fell off and struck his head on asphalt. TMZ reported earlier Wednesday. Spearbeck was put on life support. And let's see, this was written by Ryan Gatos. So he was put on life support, and Spearbeck died early Wednesday at Desert Regional Medical Center in Palm Springs, days after Saturday's action. La Quinta, the Riverside County Coroner's Office, confirmed. Like it says here, Elway was driving the golf cart, and Spearbeck fell off and struck his head on asphalt. TMZ reported earlier Wednesday. Spearbeck was put on life support after the accident. And he was just a passenger in the golf cart. But the issue at hand is, was there recklessness occurring here? We don't know. I know that there is an investigation on this incident. Will this tank Elway's golf cards? Honestly, I don't believe it will. Nothing like the issue with Shannon Sharpe. Maybe there might be some people who take this issue personally and decide to sell off their cards, but overall, when you look at John Elway's legacy, this is not a scandal that's comparative to Shannon Sharpe. So I don't think that there's going to be much of an effect there, but it still is what it is. Okay, then we come to the guy who will likely be swept under the rug and forgotten about. And if you have his card, I would recommend getting out as soon as possible at this point in time. If you're going to gamble on his stock price that it's going to come back, I highly doubt it is. Anyway, Deshaun Watson. And he is the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, who is rehabbing after re-tearing his right Achilles tendon, a diagnosis that could sideline him for most, if not all, of the 2025 season. Yes. And we know that Deshaun Watson is no stranger to scandals as well, okay? And we know that he typically just hasn't been doing a very good job at the Browns. So, yes, Deshaun Watson was a great quarterback in the past, but with this injury and with what the Cleveland Browns are doing, I would be very, very cautious with his card. I would sell off every Deshaun Watson card I have, and I mean that's what I'm doing. I'm practically giving them away, because he's just another player that has been swept under the rug for a lot of reasons, and his legacy likely, I'm guessing, won't go very far. And I know that this issue with the massage therapist, like this one, Deshaun Watson is accused of sexual assault. I mean, this has been tanking his cards for a while, with the massages, sexual assault allegations. So there's just a lot of caution whenever I look at Deshaun Watson. I mean, I can go to my local sports card shop and the guy's just giving away Deshaun Watson cards because he knows, it's not a very good deal with Deshaun Watson if you have his cards. All right, and then to exercise caution on these players is very important at this point in time. At least at this point in time, because there is just so much gray areas with quarterbacks at the Cleveland Browns. So, Dylan Gabriel came in as, a strong, starting quarterback or, backup quarterback, but he was drafted, Dylan Gabriel, great quarterback for Oregon, was round 3, pick 94, okay? He's a great quarterback. Can't say he isn't. But then, we have the round 5 pick 144, Shedeur Sanders, former quarterback of, the Colorado Buffaloes. And we all know all the big issues that, surrounded, him being a 5th round pick. What is Shedeur Sanders going to do in the NFL? A lot of people are crossing their fingers that, he's going to really take off like a rocket. But let's be honest here, there's a lot of gray areas with Shedeur Sanders right now to where if you are looking at spending a lot of money on either of these guys, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, I would probably say back off. Now, just like a stock, on the stock market, you might go, oh, it's time to buy. But, I've done my fair share of day trading. Trust me. Those low stocks, a lot of times keep going lower, and you're crossing your fingers, they're going to go up, penny stocks, whatever. And so I would exercise massive caution with these two guys, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders cards. I would be very, very cautious. Now, two other quarterbacks who I'd be very cautious of, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. I've got quite a few Kenny Pickett cards. I don't have any Joe Flacco, fortunately. But no one's rushing to buy Kenny Pickett cards right now. And, he was a decent quarterback too, but let's just face it, his stock price has fallen significantly. To the point to where, hey, if you're considering buying Kenny Pickett cards, once again, exercise a lot of caution, do your due diligence, and do your homework. Same with Joe Flacco at this point. All four of these guys are in a very, very gray area. Then you throw in number 5, Deshaun Watson. There's 5 quarterbacks that all tied with the Cleveland Browns at this point, to where red flags, detours, whatever. Just be very careful. Now, there's no scandals really surrounding, like Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, or Kenny Pickett, other than their playing ability and where they are located at now. It's because a lot of these guys are going to become eclipsed by one of these guys. And the 3 that end up not doing very well, guess what? That's just it. Those cards are going to tank. All right. So, am I nervous about those guys? Yes, because let's face it, more than likely only one's going to come out ahead. And who knows, if they have a bad season, and I both know that all those guys, their cards are going to tank. All right. And then, the last guy that I would practice extreme caution with, if you're buying his cards, if you own his cards, would be Quinn Ewers. If you're sitting there crossing your fingers with Quinn Ewers that, he's going to really, be the big guy at the Dolphins, there's a good chance that he could go nowhere and get traded off. That's just it. He fell so significantly in the NFL draft, even behind Shedeur Sanders. And this guy really came out as, a big deal, He gave up, transferring out of, being a player for the Texas Longhorns for his nil deal. I still think he should have just transferred out. Now, is he going to come in strong to the NFL? No, he's not. He's more than likely just going to be what they like to call camp stock, and I hope he's not. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have a lot of camp stock with all their quarterbacks. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with quarterbacks in the NFL anymore. It's just like we have just a flood of them anymore, and they just keep flooding in, and now it's just like there's so many. You have this, the Cleveland Browns with 5 somewhat highly rated quarterbacks, and we're all going. They're all in a gray area, and then you have this Quinn Ewers at the Dolphins, and his draft stock fell, so much. If you have his cards, university cards, whatever, I would definitely be, selling those off. Like it says here, 7th round pick. Number 231 overall. This guy was supposed to be doing pretty good. And then to just drop that far, and to have all these other, players, defensive backs, tight ends, whatever, getting quarterbacks, they're the most sought after players. So Quinn Ewers, I am recommending extreme caution on him. And once again, it's not a scandal or anything that's taken, so many of these players down. It's just, what's taken Shedeur Sanders down? Well, obviously the NFL, the coaches, staff, whatever. I guess they felt that he was a little bit too spoiled with his dad, Deion Sanders. I mean, I'll be honest here. I wish Deion Sanders was my dad. Who doesn't? I mean, if Deion Sanders was my dad when I was younger, maybe I would have made it to the NFL. All right. And then you have the Shannon Sharpe issue. How far is that going to drag Shannon Sharpe down? That's just it. And that is an ugly scandal. We don't know what's going to come out. We know he's defending it. So maybe nothing will happen there. But then again, if you have his cards, this could get very ugly, and I'd be like, oh, screw it, I'm going to sell those cards. I'm out of this issue. Okay, that's what I would do at this point with the Shannon Sharpe stuff. I would just be like clearancing this stuff out. Maybe you're crossing your fingers that he's going to come out, looking good out of all this, but he may look really bad. Deshaun Watson. We know his scandals were tanking him. His injuries are tanking him. I mean, if you didn't see the red flags on Deshaun Watson last year, the year before, I don't know if you're ever going to see the red flags on Deshaun Watson. I mean, there's just been so many red flags with Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying, do not buy his stock. Let it go. If you have it like I do, I have Deshaun Watson cards. I'm just clearancing them out. Get rid of that stuff. Hopefully someone will roll into it, but man, I don't know what to say about Deshaun Watson other than it's clearance time. And then you have the other players, at the Cleveland Browns. The Kenny Pickett card comes out. He was a great quarterback. I can't believe he's fallen that far. Now, maybe he'll come back, but for one reason, his stock has been diluted. Joe Flacco as well. Then you have Dylan Gabriel. What is going to happen with his card? And if you're rolling the dice, on his card, and this is just it. Is he going to be the guy that basically eclipses all these other quarterbacks at the Cleveland Browns? And I will be honest, I tend to believe he is. Now, I know earlier I said exercise extreme caution with Dylan Gabriel. Now, if he gets injured, something happens, Shedeur Sanders just takes off like a rocket for some reason. Yeah, his cards are going to tank. So as much as I want to back Dylan Gabriel, I still just go, man, there's just such a, horse race going on at the Cleveland Browns. I just don't know what to put my money into. So I tend to believe, though, he may be the starting quarterback, the guy that Cleveland loves, over the other quarterbacks. I'm kind of leaning towards Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders just off of watching him play in the past. I'm still surprised that Dylan Gabriel was, round 3, pick 94? I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. Like I said, it just seems like there's been a flood of quarterbacks, and the NFL is going, well, we need more other players. I just don't even know what to say. Or I would practice a lot of caution with. And hopefully it helps you out. I'm using it, for myself, for my own business, of players that I am just more or less really putting up red flags with. So anyway, if you have any different opinions on this, leave some comments. Thank you to all my subscribers, subscriber base. You're the ones that are keeping this channel together. And I'd like to thank my viewers. And if you haven't subscribed as a viewer, it's 100% free. And guess what? I won't have to continue doing community service for free for Google and YouTube forever. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye.